Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. Today's episode is about rejoining a campaign because your character has died, or joining a campaign that has already existed, and some of the things about that. If you've seen our last video, then you'll be excited to know my character has died, and you get to actively watch me take my own medicine. So please like, share, subscribe. Let's get some of those viewerships up and some of those likes up so we can keep this thing going. And we're going to jump right into what kind of happened to my character. So my character didn't make it. It's saddening. I'm heartbroken. There's a lot of things going on beneath the surface here. But first and foremost, I want to thank the DM for allowing us to go through that incredibly risky and dangerous route, which definitely ended up causing a lot of turmoil. Big respect to all the people that played their parts and went character first and let the role play happen. A very big thank you to the guy that actually killed me, which is not something you normally hear, but you know what, because of that character and my character's like strong personalities and how they interacted with each other, it made for this very big moment and caused this basically 1 in a million time scenario where we were actually full on able to go forward and let all these things happen and go character first and just really just leave it all out on the table. And even though he won, the party is now forever changed. In fact, there's only one original member left. Everyone else had departed. And now you're in a scenario where the story is just different. The one original character that's left is really in this weirdly strange place where everything that she had when this campaign started is now gone. Like there's really less there than when she was wandering around aimlessly before the campaign started. Like it's incredible the doors that are open, and to see what that character does and how she grows is going to be very, very exciting. Again, thank you DM for letting us do this, and thank you everyone for taking their chances and letting it all be on the table and acting as your characters would, and not trying to do something that would be better for the group but not true to your character. So, character dead, I'm in horrible mourning, and all I want to do is destroy everything in the game. Not a good idea. This is where that spoonful of medicine that I talked about before I have to take. I really just wanted, as soon as that campaign was over, to make a sorcerer and burn down the orphanage. Really get under the skin of the character that killed my character. Really just stick it to him. But it's not the right thing. Clearly it's not the right thing. This guy's a friend. This guy's very cool. Obviously doing something like that would be absolutely terrible. But I have to make a new character, and that's a fact. And learning not to do something that's just particularly going to damage the campaign or do something terrible is something that it takes a little bit of responsibility and growing up to do. Not easy, because clearly me putting on my big boy clothes is a very big problem. But I am at a point now where I can just relax, which is why I didn't instantly make my character that night and go, yes, this is what's going to happen, because that would be detrimental to the party, detrimental to the group, and it would create animosity, and nobody wants that. We're all here for a good time, and I'm very excited to see what happens next. So, that being said, I had to make a new character. And I had a lot of fears about making a new character because I did so much already in such a short time with when this character was created and to the time that he passed, that he had made investments into the lore and into the goals of the campaign and had his own aspirations. And now that all those are non-applicable, I now need to find another reason to be active in this campaign. Make just a character that's not just a throwaway character. And that's my biggest issue at first, because there's still a lot of sadness and mourning, and really I didn't want to move on yet. I really wanted to hold on to this character. Side note, every time I've ever played a warlock, I've never actually died because of combat with an NPC or anything involving my actual falling into a trap or a big bad killing me. Every time I've played a warlock, and it's been pretty often, I've died for reasons that were completely not my making or responsibility. Very weird record. Very strange flex, but just something I figured I'd let you all know. So I had to make a new character, and I keep looking around and just nothing sparks my interest. Everything feels like such a waste and such a throwaway, and just like, yeah, I don't want to be, Bob Ross, the fighter who fights with a staff with a brush at the end and paints his enemies with fear. Like, it not me. It's not the kind of person that would do, even though I love Bob Ross. But it's one of those things where, like, now I gotta invest all this time, and you know what? Doing that made me feel better. Doing that and digging into the lore and figuring out where my character would be and how it interacts with the story and what that means and how things could progress and work towards a better goal is what ultimately made me feel better. I mean, my last character that had passed was evil. He was chaotic evil. He really had a lot of dire evil things going on. So, you know, again, when you make an evil characters, you gotta come with an understanding that these things might happen. And now, what do? I can't make another evil character because it's gonna reflect that character so much, it's gonna be hard to differentiate them. I don't want to be the same character because that it disheartens the original character. It weakens the impact that character had. So I'm going in a different direction, and I find that the further from your original character you are, the more cathartic it is to start out as a new character, because you're really being something newer and something different than what you were before. How far that difference is depends on what you decide to do. I feel like class says a lot about your character's morality and intuitions and things like that, and I feel like they should reflect those. But I'm really hardline about basically everything on lore and all those things like that. Like I really try and stick as close to it as possible. So when I do that, I really have to find these things that are exciting and that are interesting, and I have to do it when I'm not in the mood for it. And this is where talking to your DM really makes an impact and really helps. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I did that and what specific things really helped me get through that, so that way I had to, now I'm getting to the point where I'm excited to start this new character. So I started messaging the DM like the day after and discussing a few things and figuring out what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do and how those things interacted. And once I narrowed down onto a class, I was like, you know what, I think this will really work. I think it fits the theme. I think it fits the campaign. And I just threw some things together really quickly just to see if these are still cool ideas, if there's anything here that is not going to be allowed, because sometimes these circumstances change. You know, sometimes you're playing a game and certain powers and abilities are really much more impactful than they would be, and some of these abilities might be inherent to other classes. So seeing and making sure that everything is copacetic is good, and it makes me feel like I'm not doing something that's going over the top or being disruptive to how the campaign works mechanically. I always want to make sure that I'm not doing something that's going to cause the DM issues or problems with abilities, and I like to square those things away ahead of time, so that way when I do finally use those abilities, it's not like, whoa, hold on, let's go through this and figure that out, because it breaks, what we're doing, and you get into this very, mechanical mode about explaining and your understandings of what abilities work, and that's not really something I want to waste time in game doing, and I know other people don't want to sit there and listen to it. But talking to our DM, and our DM happens to be very awesome, so it was very easy to get a lot of these things straightened out and understood and put in a way that things just make sense and they work with the campaign and how they're going to affect the things in the future. And it's a very, very cool thing to hit that button and just get going with it and figuring out what you're going to do, because that's what starts to build the excitement. Now you're starting to zero in on who your character is. I like to do class at first. If I don't do race first, it's a little difficult when I'm doing specific races, because I think that they should only really be a couple of classes that reflect them really well, and it's hard for me not to play those classes. So depending on the scenario, I'll either go race first or class first. And once I pick the class and then I pick the race, I kind of got like this idea between the two of them. And then I started picking the background, and then now I'm at the area where I have the background, I have the race, I have the class. Now it's time for me to write 40 pages of backstory. And I'm gonna write as much as I can, because I like doing that. That's just how I make characters. I like having characters that are complex and have ideals, and maybe they're flawed, maybe they're not, maybe they're good, maybe they're bad, but they have layers to them that makes them important to themselves, that makes their world seem visceral, And that really gets me excited. And then ultimately, when I'm creating a character, it's not until I hear a specific song that kind of reflects the theme of the character. And then once I do, it's like the floodgates open and everything makes sense and everything falls into place. I don't know why. I'm not I like music, but I'm not like someone who's like so in-depthly involved in music that like it's a profound instrument in their life. Like I just enjoy it. And I'm not talented, nor can I play any instruments. But I sing terribly constantly, so I guess that's it. But once I get all that together, then it's really going to happen that I'm going to feel that character. But I'm getting excited now because now I'm really starting to face that world. I'm really starting to live in that world as it exists, and I'm trying to incorporate things that have happened in that world that I've learned throughout the game to now make my character part of it. So those things did have impact. So it's not just like they were lost into the past, which is going to bring me to my next point, and it's learning about what has happened and making your character feel a part of that. So previous to the campaign I'm in now, I played with a group that had a wonderful player that just was a constant inspiration to everything. Just everything this character touched, like, made it turn to gold. Like, it was very, very cool. This person played a character named Meredith Corvus, and once we were explaining things when they joined the campaign, because they joined a little bit later, had just this wonderful explanation as to how to go and explain everything, and it's kind of out of character, but like it works so well and it saves you a lot of time. Basically they'll go, oh, so just to bring you up to speed, lore dump, and then just like let that character know everything that the character explaining would have known. And that way it's just one quick sentence, and now you can actually use the information you've used the entire campaign up to this point. Which is, it's a little weird, especially coming from me, because I'm not a person that likes to break that immersion and learn things throughout the game. But it works so well, it saves so much time, it's effective, it's efficient, it's smart, and you can really just gauge your reaction from that. And it makes things easier once that happens, because now your character knows everything that has happened, and it's not this constant backtracking to go, well, do I know that? Could I have figured that out? Did they explain that? And then whether or not it did, and having that impact, it works. It's fantastic. It's awesome. It was a very cool concept when I saw it, and to be honest, this character continuously blew my mind throughout the entire campaign. So if you're out there, I miss you dearly, and I hope everything is working out for you. But you know, not just learning about the lore or the events that have occurred is really what's going to make your character feel part of the story. And this is what's really important, because this is what's going to break all the any kind of negative feelings you might still be having, or not interest in the campaign yet. Because you got to rebuild that interest, which is just, it's a part of it. I don't know how to explain it. It happens where you got to like reinvest yourself into it. So latch on to things, you know, when reflect what your character would feel about knowing some of the things that have happened, and latch on to what they know and what they've experienced, and relate that, and try and use that as a way to build your interest into the other players and into the world around you in that specific aspect, because that might change the way your character sees the world, specifically because they didn't really get to see a lot of these things happening. So this will change that, and it should make your character interested. If your character is righteous, it should cause them to want to just find justice. If your character is just out there just trying to do something right for once, this is their chance to do that. If they're just looking to just stop some of this madness that's happening in the world, this is their chance, because they can see where it's coming from. Get invested. The sooner you get invested, the better you'll feel about your character, and the more you'll feel part of this incredible machine that's just like pushing forward. And it's a great feeling, and it's an easy way to relate to some of the other characters, because now you have this great moment where if you're an RP character, you can let the character that survived explain what they're feeling or what they're going through, and learn about that. And it gives them this opportunity where they can have this moment to say, like, it sucked, you know, like, and feel good about it, or say like, everybody that was involved was so dumb, and this happened, and nobody would listen to me. And that is a cool moment. It's very cathartic. It brings everyone together, and you understand like wow, this is like an impact, like this really happened to this character, and they feel that. If you're not a heavy RP person, just get involved is going to make you get that much into your character and just that much into the story. And once you're into the story, then you feel better, because you can see things happening and you can impact what's happening. a lot of it is really starting basically new. It's weird because depending on how far along the campaign you are, it's harder to do at the later ends than it is in the earlier ends, but it's never fun in the beginning at all. You don't really want to do this constantly, but gaining interest in the other characters, gaining interest in the story, in the aspects of the story that occur, is very, very cool. Letting your character get involved and letting your character gain an interest, even if that's necessarily not the character that maybe your character agreed with previously. You're not that character anymore, and this gives you that opportunity to immediately break those habits and start making new ones, which is really what's really important, because that's how you get to play the new character, by stop playing the other character. Oh, medicine sucks. If you made it this far in the video, please like, share, subscribe, interact with us. We'd love to talk to you guys more, share our opinions, discuss some of the things that you guys might want to talk about, so that way maybe we can help cover them. And a big thank you to the DM for letting us play out a wild session, and a big thank you to all the players for really putting their characters out there and taking some risk and doing some wild things that they probably never would have normally, but I think we've all inspired each other to do incredible things, and I'm very, very, very happy for that, and thanks for giving a Spooky Kid a chance.